Welcome back. Dow experiencing a major turnaround, shaking off some bad news this morning. Another 3 million unemployment, another 3 million jobs lost. Dow was down 280. Now, as we get through this second hour, Dow is up 100. So it's on the comeback trail, and good things are happening there. But great things may not be happening for you, like many Americans. The pandemic has got your head all screwed up, your job, you cut your hours, you got a pay cut. What to do, what to do. Somebody who knows all about this joins us right now. Ande Frazier, he's the CEO and editor-in-chief of My Worth. She is the editor-in-chief of My Worth and Forbes book author of Financially Free, 11 Conversations to Have with Yourself about life, money, and worth. People are scared. They lost their jobs due to the pandemic. What should they be doing right now to help them manage this crisis, Ande?
Well, as you just mentioned, I think we're going to see a lot of volatility in the stock market. So certainly pack your patience in terms of the next few months. I think it's going to continue to be volatile. But for those that have lost their job, I think the most critical thing they could do right now is to remain calm, but try to get a handle on what is actually going on in their day-to-day finances. What are they spending money on right now that they can cut, eliminate, or even pause temporarily to give themselves a little bit of wiggle room in terms of making sure they're covering those basic needs.
Got it. So some people, I guess, right now are worried mainly about cash flow. We know a lot of people in America are living paycheck to paycheck. What are options where people can, access funds that they may not know about?
Well, certainly going through and looking at what you're spending money on. And I always recommend that when you're looking at your own spending, that you pretend like you're looking at your friends' accounts or your siblings' accounts and look at it from those objective eyes to see what can be cut and eliminated. But a lot of people are having to go in and look at other resources for income. So some of those other places might be to tap into your retirement plan. I always recommend that as a last resort. But if it's between that and paying your mortgage, you may need to take a loan or distribution from your retirement plan. You can also consider refinancing or maybe doing a home equity line of credit right now, if that's available to get access to money. And in some place, a lot of people never think of is if you have permanent life insurance and you have some cash inside of those policies, that is also another great resource to tap into that many people never think about.
Are there any carve-outs in self-directed IRAs or 401ks where people can borrow some money due to an emergency or like a force majeure or something?
Right now, the CARES Act is allowing people to take either loans or distributions from their retirement plan. If you take a distribution, for example, you can take up to $100,000 cumulatively between those plans. And what's really great about the CARES Act now is that the tax that's normally due immediately can be stretched over 3 years. So you do have some room to be able to pay those taxes going forward once maybe you resume your job or have some other income coming in. So there's a bit of relief, but anytime you're taking money from a retirement plan, it's no longer there for retirement. So it should be a last resort for sure.
Got it.
If people do have some money and they want to take advantage of some comparatively low stock market prices or commodity prices, what would you be advising people to invest in at this point in terms of sectors?
Well, I first always recommend that they go back to what are their core values and what were their original goals before this happened. So a lot of people will look for, is there an opportunity for me to do something different right now? But I think that that's not always the best case for them. Go back to what you said was important to you and what your goals were originally and look for opportunities to invest in things that really get you to where you want to be. And also consider your risk tolerance. And what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people will say, I don't mind taking risk. I'm not, I'm risk tolerant. I can do that. But in a crisis, you really find out how risk tolerant you really are. So if you're nervous and anxious and you're watching that Dow and you're getting, super, anxious about what's happening there, it may be a time for you to take a little bit more of a conservative approach because in a crisis is when you really find out how you feel about risk.
Going back to the loans against retirements and stuff, I know you said that the government in the CARES Act gave them some way to pay the taxes over 3 years. But do you still face penalties for trying to take money out of there early?
No, the 10% penalty has been waived right now, which is really nice, but you still have to pay ordinary income tax. So, on a loan, you wouldn't be facing any kind of penalties, but you have to pay back that loan. And something that's really important is each plan has kind of different ways that they just do loans. And so if you take a loan while you have a job and then you lose your job, it is possible that that loan is callable immediately, or it's considered to be a distribution. And so you want to read the fine print and really understand what your individual company's plans state around loans, even in this, CARES Act announcement.
Wow. So the loan, if you lose the job, could actually turn into a distribution, and then you get whacked with a tax bill.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of people also don't realize that when you pay back a loan to your retirement plan, you're typically paying that loan back with after tax dollars. And then when you go to distribute it in retirement, you're paying tax on it again. So loans are really not, from your retirement plan, should really be like the last of the last resorts.
Got it. There's something here, a question that people seem to not know that much about when they're searching for new jobs. What do they need to know before they opt into the company's benefits?
A lot of people will immediately take advantage of any kind of group benefits offered by a new employer, and they haven't maybe looked at their own personal benefits. A great example of that is disability insurance. It is always better to have individual disability insurance first and then opt into your company plan. You'll actually get more benefits that way. Whereas if you opt into your group plan first and then go to try to get individual coverage, it's going to be supplemental and layered on top of your group plan, rather than being the other way around. So I think it's always a good idea to make sure you're doing your own personal planning and that you are looking at the portability of any group benefits that you may have. Many benefits are not portable, so go from job to job, you're not able to carry those benefits with you.
Understood. Frankie, I know you just experienced a pay cut, as we talked about.
Yes.
What questions do you have for Andy as far as getting your finances in line?
Well, not necessarily in terms of my finances, but I think a question a lot of people may have, especially recent retirees who had put a lot of money into their 401k over the course of their careers. They need money now to live, but they've seen stocks dip a bit, but they don't necessarily want to lock in their losses. So how do people know whether they should take a little bit of a haircut now and get some cash to do things like pay their bills, or if they should kind of try and ride this out in the hope that these investments come back, and knowing that they may not come back?
Such a great question. If you're in retirement right now and you have any other accessibility to money that's not associated with the market, what I would recommend that you do is take money from those accounts that are uncorrelated to the market, that aren't associated with them, and leave the assets that are invested in the market alone, so that you're not doing what you just said. You're not withdrawing at an already low market, therefore securing your losses, that you give your retirement plan a little time out to where it can start to kind of recover. Sometimes people have put all their money in these plans, and so they don't have this uncorrelated asset. So another option might be to look at taking a home equity loan or refinancing or doing even a reverse mortgage temporarily if you want to have money coming out that's uncorrelated with the market. I think we're going to see some volatility through the end of the year. So it's a great thing to be thinking about, especially if you're seeing a lot of fluctuation in what you're invested in.
In our final couple minutes here, I know you discuss 4 pillars of financial decision making. Can you lay those out for our audience so they can, try to heed your advice?
Absolutely. I think whenever you're making a financial decision, you should think about 4 things. The first is what your current mindset is right now. What are you feeling, thinking, and doing around, your money? What are your beliefs? What are your values and goals? And how is your decision really going to be aligning with those values and goals and those beliefs? The second thing is security. Is this decision making me more secure? And if so, how? And then the third one is time. The order in which you make financial decisions and the order in which you're going to need to use that money is critically important. So a lot of times I'll see people saving for retirement before they have an emergency fund. And so, you might need an emergency fund way before you need retirement. So look at the order in which you're doing things over your life timeline. And then finally, freedom. Is this decision going to give me freedom to be able to make a choice at a particular point in time when we don't know what life will be like? So the more freedom and control that you have over your money, the better off you'll feel, because we might be making decisions 30 or 40 years from now that we'll want to have some freedom around.
Got it. Andy, thank you very much. Really appreciate you giving our audience some tips. I learned something. I'm sure they did too. Andy Frazier is the CEO and editor-in-chief of My Worth, Forbes book author of Financially Free, 11 Conversations to Have with Yourself About Life, Money, and Worth. Go check out the book. You should be reading while you're quarantined anyway. We're going to take a quick break. Frankie and I will be back right after this.